my father and his longtime friend, David Butch Laverdiere, who died in 2019. Pop and I went to his funeral on the West Coast in a chartered Gulfstream. Pop was always close with his money, not stingy, but close, and the whopping expense of that round trip said a lot about his feeling for the man I grew up calling Uncle Butch. That feeling held strong, although the two men hadn't seen each other face to face in 10 years or more. Pop was asked to speak at the funeral. I didn't think he would. His rejection of the public spotlight spread in all directions, not just interviews. But he did it. He didn't go to the podium, only stood up where he was with the help of his cane. He was always a good speaker, and that didn't change with age. Butch and I were kids going to a one-room schoolhouse before the Second World War. We grew up in a no-stoplight, dirt road town, fixing cars, patching them up, playing sports, and then coaching them. As men, we took part in town politics and maintained the town dump. Very similar jobs now that I think about it. We hunted, we fished, we put out grass fires in the summer and plowed the town roads in the winter. Knocked over a right smart of mailboxes doing it, too. I knew him when no one knew his name, or mine, outside of a 20-mile radius. I should have come to see him these last years, but I was busy with my own affairs. I thought to myself, there's time. We always think that, I guess. Then time runs out. Butch was a fine artist, but he was also a good man. I think that's more important. Maybe some here don't, and that's all right. That's all right. Thing is, I always had his back, and he always had mine. He paused, head down, thinking. In my little Maine town, there's a saying for friends like that. We kept close. Yes, they did, and that included their secrets. Ruth Crawford had a solid clip file. I checked. She had published articles, mostly personality profiles, in a dozen places, many local or regional, Yankee, Down East, New England Life, but a few national, including a piece on the benighted town of Derry in the New Yorker. When it came to Laird Carmody and Dave Laverdiere, I thought she had a good hook to hang her proposed story on. Her thesis had come up glancingly in pieces about either Pop or Uncle Butch, but she wanted to drill down on it. Two men from the same small town in Maine who had become famous in two different fields of cultural endeavor. Not only that, either. Both Carmody and Laverdiere had achieved fame in their mid-40s, at a time when most men and women have given over the ambitions of their youth, who have, as Pop once put it, dug themselves a rut and begun furnishing it. Ruth wanted to explore how such an unlikely coincidence had happened, assuming it was coincidence. Has to be a reason? Pop asked when I finished reading him Ms. Crawford's letter. Is that what she's suggesting? I guess she never heard about the twin brothers who won large sums of money in their respective state lotteries on the same day. Well, that might not have been a complete coincidence, I said, assuming, that is, that you didn't just make the story up on the spur of the moment. I gave him space to comment, but he only offered a smile that could have meant anything, or nothing, so I pressed on. I mean, those twins might have grown up in a house where gambling was a big thing, which would make it a little less unlikely, right? Plus, what about all the lottery tickets they bought that were losers? I'm not getting your point, Mark, Pop said, still with a little smile. Do you even have one? Just that I can understand this woman's interest in exploring the fact of you and Dave both coming from Nowheresville and blossoming in the middle of your lives. I raised my hands beside my head as if framing a headline. Could it be fate? Pop considered this, rubbing one hand up the white stubble on the side of his deeply lined face. I actually thought he might be about to change his mind and say yes. Then he shook his head. Just write her one of your nice letters. Tell her I'm going to pass and wish her well on her future endeavors.